don't know if I've touched on this or not yet, but Burrow is a very powerful upgrade when you use this style of play. Burrow is a powerful upgrade always, you know, so you can burrow lings around the map, and they block expansions, they give you vision. There goes some Overlords. He's probably thinking that's a drop, panicking.
I'm not that good.
But you did force him to lift a base over here on the right, on the far left. So if he's building a base there, what should that tell you?
He's probably got one at his third.
Yes, probably. He just lost a lot of Overlords. Like, I know I've been yelling at you to Overlord Scout, but it might be prudent for me to mention that sending all of your Overlords right across the middle of the map, not always the best idea.
Well, I tried to have him freaking scout, like each one going to a different location. I guess I misclicked at some point.
You might have held shift the whole time, which would have sent them all to the first location. And then they would have gone out their different ways. So you're kind of getting yourself into a situation where he's trying to split the map, and if he does succeed in splitting the map, you're going to fungal those values. Alright. And I think you're making the right choice not running up to engage that gold base. You have a bunch of lings and ultras in your natural, which is good. Your army is wasting too much time though. There you go.
Yeah, it's empty drones and whatnot.
And those drones are going to see a big drop.
Yes.
In your third base that needs to be dealt with. So you force him to lift his third. You should be seeing that he has been mining on this for a long time, and that should make you very sad. You are dealing with this drop pretty well. One infestor there, and that would have not gotten away. But that's not the way it worked. And don't walk into that. Alright, cool. You have one Ultralisk and like 9 infestors, which is really cool, but not going to do very well against his entire army. And there is his entire army. And just the story of this whole game has been your macro, man. Like you had him completely dead at one point, but you weren't macroing. And now, great fungals, absolutely great fungals. Now you need to turn around and win. Like neural parasite everything. Dude, this should be the end of the game right here. All right, you see some tanks on the high ground that have to be dealt with.
Ultra's failing me.
Alright, you need to be rallied up into this gold with a lot of Zerglings. You should be able to win the game right here. You can take those infestors and you can fungal growth all those SCVs and they will die really, really fast. Here come the lings. Fungal. One more fungal.
Add energy.
Alright. Well, you're still going to kill all the SCVs. And, you know, again, you've gone from being way behind, like, and he GG's. Wow, I can't believe he won. Nothing against you there, but...
He left before I could. That's another issue. I always forget to do that, by the way.
To do what?
GG.
Oh, that's okay. Alright, so that was fucking great. You won that game. I hope that kind of instills in you a sense of how resilient this style of play can be.
Right.
Because I mean, you were way up at one point, and then you went way down.
Yeah.
As you kind of let him sort of fortify himself into a position that you couldn't break, and then you went way down as he kept killing armies after army after army after army. But then it just like you saw there, it just took one really good engagement. And
right.
I hope you saw how quickly a neural parasite can turn a fight where you're outnumbered into a fight where you have much greater numbers than him. Because you only had Ultralisks and Infestors. Right. That was all you had. And then you just, bam, fungal all the neural all the tanks. And you have Ultralisks, Infestors, and Siege tanks all of a sudden.
Yeah. I've never, I've tried the Infestor, or the neural parasite on tanks before, and it never really seemed to, I can never get it to work out very well. Like, because I have, and it kind of happened there a little bit, and I guess it's maybe somewhat expected. if one tank is still not neural parasited or something, they focus the infestors, and it's just like a chain reaction of death because they kill one infestor, another tank comes out, and it's killing more infestors, and it seems like it melts really quick. And like I said, there was a little bit of that, but the ultras killed the tanks kind of so fast that it didn't really...
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. What did you do a terrible job of doing that game?
A lot of stuff, really.
What's the
to be
biggest
specific,
thing? The biggest thing that you failed at?
I would say map control and keeping their
I would say your
expansions.
macro was atrocious.
Oh, the macro? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like when it hits, I do good-ish. You know, up until about the 10-minute mark.
You do good-ish until you're past 1.5 bases of saturation. Basically,
Right.
you do fine
Exactly.
when you have 30 drones working, but then when you get to 60 drones, it's like, holy crap! What do I do with all this money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's totally understandable. It's difficult to spend that much of an income, especially when you're doing this style of play. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
But here there's a very important thing that you have to understand, and it's your infestors require the rest of your army to be there for them to be effective. He cannot focus down your infestors if there is a wall of zerglings protecting your infestors, right?
Right. Right.
We saw a couple times there where you would just knurl a bunch of shit, but there was nothing there to protect your infestors. One time, famously on that gold base, you had like 1 roach and 7 infestors, and you're just like, well, I'm just going to neural parasite everything, and then it didn't work, and it's just like, oh, this sucks. Neural parasite's terrible. What kind of bad advice are you giving me?
Yeah, I know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand.
So
that actually brings up an interesting point. You mentioned bringing roaches into the army.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thinking behind that? Because I've heard do roaches first mech. Is that strictly early until you can get like ultras out or something? Or
well, I mean, roaches. I mean, as you know, how fast do blue flame hellions kill zerglings?
Well, too fast.
I mean, it's like
yeah.
there's zerglings there 1 second, and the next it's just charred
You have
crispy
no
things. That's all that's left. It's ridiculous. Okay, how fast do a bunch of fucking Thors kill mutas?
Within 1 volley.
I mean,
half a
seriously. If you fly 12 mutas over 5 Thors, like
it's
just
done.
Like
you're not
haphazardly, or what
yeah.
if you accidentally right-click on a Thor and they
yeah.
they cluster up for just a second? How long does it take for those guys to die?
Yeah, exactly.
It's instantaneous. All right. So how quickly does a hellion kill a roach? Much
very
more
fast
slowly.
Yeah.
And Thors obviously can kill roaches with relative haste, but it takes 2 shots, right?
Yeah.
And the rate of fire on a Thor is not really high, and Thor sucks up a lot of supply. So if you match him for cost, roaches to Thors, you're going to have so many more roaches than he has Thors that you're just going to kind of take enough damage and do enough damage in the time that it takes to kind of deal with it. So
right.
That's a long-winded way of me saying roaches are kind of the most cost-effective way for you to deal with this pure mech army.
Okay.
Now lings are fantastic against Thor. So I mean, if you can make it so that he's not making hellions anymore, then go back to the lings, and that's kind of what happened. You showed him a bunch of roaches, and he said, "Oh, I better not make any more hellions."
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking. The purpose of it was when there's a bunch of hellions on the map, you need to get switched to roaches, and then if they stop with the hellions, then go back to lings.
And it's not even that it's a full switch. It's just that the roaches supplement the rest of your army so well, and
right.
We didn't even really get to see it in its full glory because you were attacking into a very bad position.
Right.
But the roaches just allow you to soak up so much more damage. They really create some really cool opportunities. So so that's the answer there. I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent. I am so scatterbrained today, dude. I'm sorry.
No, I mean I asked.
I went out last night to watch the UFC fights, and I had some drinks, and I guess I'm still a little loopy. But anyway. Let's jump in and play this other game.
Okay.
And what I want to see this time is much better macro, much improved macro. I showed Gerbil, who's watching us right now, this build last week, and his execution of it is better than any I've seen. And he He kept his money below like 500 the whole time.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable how much he just he just rolled through everything. And he had like ultras out in like 12 minutes, and the game was over.
Jeez.
It was insane. It was so cool to watch. So if we can just spend that money,
Right.
you're gonna be in a huge position.
So gas is, if I can remember right, it's 17 and 24 or 5 or something like that?
No, you really only want one gas until lair, and then you go up to 4.
Okay, okay. So you only have 1 and then you immediately pop 4?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I can remember that.
All right. This one's for login, says Luftwaffe. Luftwaffle. I don't know. I'm not even going to try.
All right, so do you have any suggestions as for ways to improve the macro late game? Just like spend the money as much as possible, keep injections going kind of thing? Is that pretty much?
Yeah, injections obviously are huge. And just having hatcheries everywhere, man. Like one thing that we're not doing enough of is just expanding in general. Like once you have hive up, you need to be on like 5 or 6 bases, and 5 or 6 hatcheries on their own is going to create 15 larvae every 30 seconds. So that's going to give you production in and of itself, even when you miss injections. And then if you have queens cranking out injects, and if you have macro hatcheries there, you'll find that your money stays nice and low.
Okay.
So if you wanted, there it is. Yep, good. If you want that faster gas and you want to get it right now, and just make sure that you start mining from it the instant it finishes, and your drone sees a marine chasing it. So try to save the drone if you can. And importantly, you're kind of blind now, so
yeah,
this might prompt a faster Overlord sacrifice than you might otherwise make.
Mm. Drone, do something.
You see it.
God.
Just making sure you see it. Lings need to be made right away to deal with it. You need to start a queen in your natural. Dive! Touching SCV! Ah, it's so unfair. Kill the SCV, dude.
Oh,
Kill
God.
the SCV,
Drone.
dude. Alright.
Freaking AI, man.
So there you
Attack
go.
move.
So now you're making only drones.
Alright.
You can start a queen in the main. Pull guys out of gas as soon as you have 100 gas, and transition right into your super drone heavy mid game. Alright, so you see 2 racks in a factory.
Yep. It's pretty standard, I assume, marine tank, right?
That would be the read that I would take off of that as well. The fact that he hasn't expanded yet and you don't see a command center would definitely lead me to believe that he's probably trying to do some sort of one-base timing.
Right. Which is probably that 8-minute thing I was talking about, or 7 or whatever.
Could be. That does not mean make units, though. That means continue droning.
All
We're
right.
going to use scouting,
Wow.
and we're only going to kind of react.